Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is Bob Rader, who's the Executive Director of CABE. Bob, welcome. How are you, my friend? Good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Peter.
Always good to see you, my friend. Always good to see you.
We always have a good time together.
Absolutely. It's been
discussion.
a while. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
So what's been going on? What have you been up to since the pandemic?
Well, what we've tried to do at the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education is really to make sure people are getting the information they need, the advice, the ability to network and talk to each other. Mm-hmm. So what we've done is a number of webinars with various people. Fran Rabinowitz, head of the Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents, we've had on. We've had the commissioner. We've had Glenn Lungarini from CIAC.
Absolutely.
We've worked with Mark Brackett from Yale University, who's in charge of their Center for Emotional Intelligence. Mm-hmm. And we've talked to guidance counselors. We've talked to other people who are going to help as school comes back, because social and emotional learning is going to be one of the most important things that everybody has to take care of as kids come back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what do you think schools are going to look like when they come back?
Well, it's hard to tell what school's going to look like.
Right.
A number of them, I'd say about half or close to half are starting with a hybrid situation. Yep. Where half of the kids are in the school, half of the kids are not in school. Maybe 2 days a week for each, and they'll rotate, mm-hmm. And a day for cleaning or for all distance learning.
Right.
But it's very hard to tell exactly what's going to happen. Obviously, parents are allowed to keep their children at home.
Right.
Temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the commissioner has said. And the governor has said, and so we don't know exactly what it's going to start like. I mean, the real difficult issues seem to be in the bigger districts with big high schools. Right. Where there's no way to cohort the kids into different categories. There are too many kids. They can't do the social distancing. Mm-hmm. So New Haven is starting with the kids at home. Okay. For all the kids. So it's a difficult situation, and our job is to help school board members as they help their superintendents. And I wanted to point this out.
Sure.
This has been a very, very difficult summer for superintendents.
Absolutely.
First, they were told one thing by what looked to be the decision of the state. Sure. That everybody must go back. Then a couple of weeks ago it was made local control, led by the superintendent. You know, July is usually a month for superintendents to take time off, to recharge. Right. Same with teachers and same with other staff at the school districts.
Exactly.
But this summer, it hasn't happened. No. They had to come up with 3 different plans, mm-hmm. for complete closing and doing everything by distance learning, as we did in the spring. Right. A hybrid plan where half and half go to school, half don't, and then they switch. They switch it. And for complete distance learning. For complete everybody coming back at once. Right. It's a little hard to remember.
Exactly.
But certainly the state is pushing for all the kids to come back at the same time, mm-hmm. for full day learning and instruction, and it's very difficult to see how that's going to happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how long have you been with CABE?
I have been with CABE in January. It will be 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sort of the elder in this group, which I never thought I'd be.
No, definitely not. So what exactly with CABE do you guys do?
Well, we do a number of things. We do advocacy is probably our biggest thing. We work with the legislature, the governor's office, certainly the commissioner. Mm-hmm. And if necessary, we go into the courts to help with our school districts, as well as we will work with our congressional delegation down in Washington. So that's one thing. Another of the services we provide are policy services. Districts work by policies, just like the legislature puts
Yes.
out law.
Sure.
They adopt policies, we suggest them. We have a real guru doing that who has been in education for over 50 years, was at one point the superintendent in Clinton. His name is Vin Mastaro.
Vin Mastaro, oh,
yes.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
he is just unbelievable. He's analytic, he loves to write, he's so articulate.
Absolutely.
So we do lobbying, we do advocacy, we put out a newspaper every month, the Cape Journal, with suggestions for boards about best practices. We do a convention, which we've done the last probably 8 to 10 years at the Mystic Marriott.
Sure.
We usually do it in November. This year we're going to do something online in November, and we're going to do our convention sometime in the spring.
Nice.
And the reason is that everybody is so busy with the schools and with doing things to make sure it's safe and healthy for the kids, as well as our wonderful staff, teachers, para-educators, everybody else.
Absolutely.
So we decided, let's go a little slowly this year and do it that way.
And like you said, you deal with Glenn Longarini from the CIAC.
Absolutely.
As far as that goes, who knows what fall sports seasons are going to look like.
Exactly. He's going to be actually on our board chair call-in on Thursday.
Okay.
But you know, Glenn's got a very difficult position. He's trying to do everything safely and healthfully for the kids. And then all of a sudden, when he's on the verge of getting his, and I shouldn't say his, but it's CIAC's program across, the Yukon Huskies have decided not to play football.
Exactly.
And that puts a lot of pressure on everyone.
Oh, yeah.
So Glenn and the CIAC are thinking through exactly what they're doing, and as he has said, they don't call it the definitely, absolutely final full plan or full schedule, because he realizes it's fluid.
Absolutely.
You know, a few kids might get sick in a school or in an area, and it could change everything.
Absolutely.
At least in that area. So we're interested in what Glenn will be doing, and he's a wonderful partner, as is Fran and other people that we work with all the time.
I was going to say, I've never interviewed Glenn. He's on my list of people to talk to.
Very articulate, smart guy, and has been in the schools for years, and certainly knows what he's doing.
Funny thing I got to tell you, you mentioned Vin Mastaro.
Yes.
Vin Mastaro was the superintendent of schools in the town of Clinton.
Right.
The last graduating class that Vin handed their diplomas to was mine.
Oh, wow.
The last diploma that he handed to a person was me.
And he is wonderful.
Oh, he's a great guy.
And
he's a great guy.
It's amazing, because I was the head of policy services in New York State for a while at their school boards association, and when I began to work with Vin, I realized with his background, with his knowledge, his ability to analyze and so on, it's just amazing.
Absolutely. And actually, you and I have another mutual friend.
Who's that?
Lon Seidman.
Oh, Lon is wonderful.
Oh.
I talk to Lon all the time. He's a really good board member.
Oh, he's a great guy.
He understands what's going on. He has questions. He's not afraid to put forth his opinion. And I love people like that, because that's what we need, strong people to lead our schools.
I haven't seen him in a while. I ran into him a couple of weeks ago in Clinton.
That's great.
We were together, and I haven't seen him. I'm like, so how are things going? He's like, with the new normal, things are going extremely well. I believe is he chairman of the board in Essex?
I believe he is.
I
still.
think so. Okay.
And he's also on the Region 4 board.
Okay, yeah.
So he's another one of our busy school board members.
Absolutely.
And he's on our board, so it's just wonderful for us.
So he spreads himself all over the place.
He does, and he's busy, and he does his show.
Yep.
And we've certainly learned a lot of things from Lon Seidman.
Oh, absolutely. So how many towns do you guys cover?
Well, there are 166 towns in the state. Okay. We probably have, we've gained a few. We're probably at 153 or 154.
Okay.
and we're very, very pleased that people have seen our value. We've had a number come back in, and it's gone well for us. I mean, it's hard with everybody working at home.
Yeah.
Our office is closed, not only because of COVID, but because we had an accident in the building, and we're replacing the carpeting, and it's taking forever at this time. But we hope to be back at work at the office, as opposed to in my computer room.
Working remotely.
Working remotely very soon.
Wow.
Very soon.
Wow. Now, where are you guys located?
We're in Weathersfield, right over the Hartford border.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, that gives us a nice spot, easy to get to the legislature and whoever else we might need to work with.
Now, how are you guys responding to the school board members during the pandemic?
Well, we're doing all we can to keep in contact with them. Our board of directors, executive committee in particular, has reached out to board members, board chairs across the state. We have a check-in once a week. We do a check-in and update, and we have various people come and talk to us. And we spend a lot of that time just letting them network and just letting them talk. We also have a board chair listserv where they can discuss things with other board members. And they talk about the frustrations they're having, and yet there are some real nice successes too.
There you go.
They've been able to keep things going over the summer, and they're not everybody thinks it's the best idea to all come back at the beginning, but they're working it through with their communities, and especially with their superintendents.
Exactly.
It's tough. It
is.
And there are no great answers. No. Everybody would like to be able to say 100% safety, no problem.
Yeah.
That's not the real world.
No,
so
definitely
we
not.
have to make some adjustments. We've adjusted as far as, the state has said all kids have to wear masks.
Masks, right.
Everybody has their masks.
Absolutely.
Mine with the nice Yankee emblem on it.
There you go.
And, we talk about hand washing all the time. They have to do that. The distance, keeping the distance, the social distancing is what's really hard. On buses, in classrooms, it's going to make it very hard, but there are plans out there, and people should be comfortable. The state has done really well, probably #1 in the nation, as far as making sure that all our people are safe. We have a positivity rate, which if it's above 1, I'm told, I'm not a medical expert, but I'm told if it's above 1, that means that the disease COVID is being contagious to more people. Below 1, fewer people, and we've been below 1 for a while.
That's right. We have.
Which is just great. So we want to work with our partners. We want to work with the state to make sure that kids come back safe. That safety is #1 in everybody's mind.
Absolutely.
And we're doing our best. One of the things that we had a chance to do, one of our business affiliates is an architectural firm. And they're called SLAM, S-L-A-M, in Glastonbury. They spoke to board members about what the social distancing means, how to do it best. And what I have read, I got this from one of our chairs of a board, Merrill Gay. He's in Middletown, and Merrill is also one of the leaders in the early childhood group. And he sent out something to all our board chairs on our board chair listserv from the Atlantic magazine, talking about the importance of having good HVAC systems. Ventilation is crucial.
Absolutely.
And good ventilation. So boards have been looking at that. I'm sure it's more the superintendent and the staff, but they've been looking to make sure they have the filters they need, because that's really one way of preventing the disease. And of course, we're talking about, if we can, if it's not too hot or too cold, holding classes outside, because that seems to be one of the best ways of preventing the spread.
Absolutely. And the one thing we need to talk about, like you said, you're going to
Sure.
have your meeting with CIAC Commissioner Longarini on Thursday. If they bring back fall sports, how do they social distance on the bus?
Well, it's the bus and everything else. I don't know what they're suggesting in terms of the buses at this point.
Right.
For going back to school, many of the districts have suggested to their parents very strongly, if you can drive your child to school,
Drop them off.
it's helpful, and it provides a little assurance to the parents
Right.
that their kids aren't on a bus. Now, I know the state has said, well, we'll get as many kids as we can on a bus. I don't know how much that means, and in some areas it's really difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's starting at the same time. That means the buses have to be more or less filled. But hopefully with masks, with smart social distancing, our kids will be safe.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's going to be a very different school year.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to be a very different...
Absolutely. And we hope it's a great school
Oh,
year.
absolutely.
You know? I think.
Oh, yeah.
I think everybody. It's kind of interesting. I live in Glastonbury, and although they didn't have the regular awarding of the diploma at a big outdoor field and so on, because it was back in June.
Right.
The principal of the high school came around. Board members came around to the kids, and I've heard a lot of different districts say, hey, this might be a better new normal than long speeches at a graduation ceremony while everybody's hot and the kids are tired. But this worked very well in some cases, so they're going to talk about it for next year too, whether or not there's COVID, and let's hope there isn't.
No, of course not. And I speaking from experience, I live in the town of Clinton, and what they did in Clinton, they had virtual graduation, but they did it in groups by last name. So they gave you a window to be there. You walked across the makeshift stage.
Sure.
And then they handed you your diploma. You walked off the stage, and then you got in your car and you left. And I know here at Valley Shore Community Television, Chris Morgan, who is the public access coordinator, actually, the day that they did graduation at Morgan, Valley Shore, and Christy Kaminsky, they actually did the whole graduation day on the station.
Oh, wow.
They did the whole ceremony on the station, basically all graduation day. And I actually saw it on the dial when I got home that night, but then I saw it online. It actually came out very nice.
That's great. That's great. Well, it's interesting.
It is.
You make all kinds of different alternatives. You have to find things that work. Today I was in a program that used to be still is very expensive when it's in person. And rather than in person, they did it on the web today.
Sure.
And I found the speeches were great. Everything was a little condensed.
Right.
I think I got more out of that than, spending the money going to Chicago or wherever it is.
Right.
And I can now watch the other ones whenever I want.
Exactly.
And it was free. So win-wins all along. Absolutely.
It saved you a couple of bucks.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So what else we want to talk about as far as the upcoming school year goes, as far as visions and ideas?
Well, one of the things we've been working on is equity. I know everybody talks about equity, but we have a committee at CABE under the direct leadership of Leonard Lockhart, who is chair of the Windsor Board of Education, and of course our president is Don Harris, who is well known as the chair of the Bloomfield Board of Education. And we have spent a lot of time talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're talking to our board members about it because many of the boards are not terribly well integrated. And one of the things we realize is that if you're going to appeal and make decisions based on the students in your community. The communities have become more brown. About half of the kids who are now in our schools are kids of color, and we want to make sure boards are sensitive to their needs, whether it's by having cultural competencies, reaching out to the communities in their districts in which they're possibly people of color, and bringing them in. You know, we believe school boards is an institution that helps everybody, and we want to make sure that we're prepared and our members are prepared for the next round of education reform, or just education in their communities in general. A lot has gone on. A lot of focus on minority teacher recruitment, and we're still nowhere near to where it should be in Connecticut. We have about 9%, which, believe it or not, is up from probably 8.7% teachers who are of color. And we have to do better because our kids are nearly half of color.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about the need for resources.
Oh, well, that is a big subject, obviously, as well. You know, the budgets were passed by the communities, hopefully, and then if the communities didn't pass them, the fiscal councils or the town councils passed them. We don't know where we're going to be. Last week, the governor announced there were $266 million more dollars. We don't know exactly what dollars are going where and who they're going to yet. But with the cost of masks, with the cost of perhaps substitute teachers needed for, you know, if teachers decide, some of them decide not to come in, or they are actually ill, we have to take care of them. And it's so hard with expecting to do distance learning as well as in-class learning. So we have been asking for more resources. We thought what the governor said sounded like a really good first step to us. We're wondering what will happen in Washington, where the Congress has not been able to make decisions. The president has made some decisions. To the best of my knowledge, it's not on helping out school districts or local governments which need it. It's mostly on the unemployment issues which have gotten so much publicity. So we're hoping there'll be more coming from the federal government as well as from the state to help out all our districts as we go forward.
And I know from personal experience in the town of Clinton, we have a town council, and our town council set the budget.
Well, that's difficult. Hopefully they talk to the superintendent and the board. And sometimes that's good, but sometimes you have situations where they're not good relationships, which we try to help. But the decisions are made without the, you know, being able to say, well, we have a flat budget again. Well, we understand what taxpayers are going through and so on, but you got to provide the money for the schools so they can reopen safely. Exactly. And we were talking before that you and I have a mutual friend of Jan Peruccio in the town of Old Saybrook. Great superintendent. Jan is one of our favorites. She came up with an idea 3 years ago or so that why are we doing professional development and teaching the same thing every year to teachers who have been there for years and years? That are hearing the same thing every year. Exactly. And while it's important they know it, they really need an update every year. And Jan suggested that to us and to CAPS, the Superintendent's Association. And Patrice McCarthy, who is our General Counsel and Deputy Director, went to the legislature along with Sheila McKay, our Senior Staff Associate for Government Relations. And the legislature, to their credit, set up a committee. Everybody on the committee agreed, and the stakeholders were everybody from CAPS and CABE to the teachers unions and everybody else said, this makes sense. Let's not require everything every single year. And it freed up some time for staff to do other things in their professional development. And of course this year, rather than 180 days, not the legislature, the commissioner and the governor have said 177 days is okay if you spend the first 3 days doing professional development.
There you go.
And we think that is absolutely terrific, will be a boon for our school districts. Nobody knows exactly what they're coming back to. And certainly social and emotional skills of teachers, of building the students' social and emotional skills, all very, very important. We know a lot of kids were out, especially in the cities, were out, perhaps did not engage in the distance learning that was going on.
Right.
Some have trauma, not seeing their friends for a long time may sound like just, oh, well, you don't see your friends, but for kids, they're at ages where they're
Right.
growing up and they're making these connections to other kids. And we're very hopeful that they'll get back to school where they have a lot of loving and encouraging people who will inspire them to having a great year.
Bob Rader from Cable Rider Time. Hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Whenever you want.
You got it, my friend.
know
Good
I'll
to see
be
you again.
here. Thanks so much.
Thanks, bud. On behalf of Bob Rader, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next time.